Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Jen, and today I am going to show you how to make low carb pizza chaffles. Now, way back in the day when I was on my weight loss journey, these were a go-to for me anytime I was craving something that the alternative may not have been very healthy. And this is, one of those recipes that's really easy to whip up in advance, and you can freeze it even if you like and reheat it in your air fryer. Now I'm tripling this recipe, but I will leave the ingredients listed below for a single batch of this that will make 2 chaffles. I'm going to be making 6. So I'm starting off with 1 cup of low-fat shredded mozzarella cheese, and to that I'm going to add 3 eggs. And then I'm going to season this. Now I'll give you a rough idea. I added about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm adding about a half a teaspoon of onion powder. Of course, all of these seasonings are to taste. If you don't want it very strong or if you want it stronger, add more or less, depending on how you like it. Now, the original recipe calls for Italian seasoning. I don't keep Italian seasoning on hand, so I'm just going to add about a half a teaspoon of parsley and a half a teaspoon of oregano and also a half a teaspoon of basil. Now, I do have some fresh basil that I'm going to save to garnish this at the very end, but if you would prefer to have fresh herbs in your chaffle, you can do that too. I'm not going to salt this mixture because I am on a salt restriction. So if you want to add salt to the egg mixture, by all means, you can do that. I'm going to add some red pepper flake because I like spicy, and anytime I eat pizza, I always put red pepper flake on top of my pizza. So it kind of goes hand in hand for me, but you can leave that out if you don't like spicy food. And I'm going to also add some black pepper to this because I really enjoy the flavor of black pepper with eggs. Now, I will tell you to season this however you want, but I highly suggest that you heavily season it because most of the flavor from these chaffles comes from this mixture right here. This is the base or the substitute crust for your pizza. So we're just going to mix this up really good until I make sure that everything is combined and there's no bits of like egg white just floating freely around here. I want it to be well mixed before I add it to my waffle maker. Now I'm using a little mini waffle maker here. I'm going to give it a little bit of avocado oil and spread it around. This recipe, the nutrition facts for this are for a mini waffle maker. I can try to find this particular one on Amazon and leave a link for it below for you if you're interested in purchasing one for yourself. But I really like this one because it holds about a third cup of this mixture, and it ends up being exactly 6 chaffles. And just like in true waffle fashion, I put a little bit too much in this first one and the cheese is kind of oozing out, but it does crisp up and kind of becomes a cheese skirt on the outside of this. So you just want to keep checking on it every now and then until the outside is nice and crispy. Now, this is an egg-based thing. It's not ever going to get truly crispy. However, once it sits on your cookie sheet for a little bit and the cheese cools off, it does get a more firm texture. So just leave it in your waffle maker until the steam sort of slows down, just like when you're making a regular waffle. As these eggs cook, they're going to release steam, and when they're cooked through, there's going to be less steam coming out of your waffle maker. Now, I have about a million variations of different kinds of chaffles. In fact, I even have a waffle maker that makes little bowls that I have used to make taco salad before. So if you guys are interested in more videos like this with like healthier options, let me know. I know normally I don't really post healthy food on my channel, but sometimes we just have to look after our health. So absolutely, I will share more of these kinds of recipes. You guys just got to let me know. So once we get all of our waffles made, we're going to move on to dressing them. And I'm using the Rao's pizza sauce because it's very low calorie. There's no added sugar. There's actual chunks of tomato in here. But if you make your own pizza sauce and you're not watching your sugar or whatever, feel free to use whatever you like. I just like this as an option for folks who are minding their sugar, which is exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to put about a teaspoon and a half of this Rao's sauce on each one of my little chaffles here, and it kind of settles down in the indentions of the waffle, which makes it tastier in my opinion. And then I'm going to top this with some turkey pepperoni. Now, like I said, if you're not on your own kind of health journey, use regular pepperoni, that's fine. But for me, turkey is a healthier option. In fact, if I could have found the reduced sodium, I probably would have purchased that. So I'm just going to put about 4 of these on each one of these chaffles. And if you stick around to the very end, I will list the nutritional info for a serving of 2 of these little mini pizzas at the very end of the video, so you know exactly what you're gonna get. Once I get my little turkey pepperonis on here, I'm gonna top it with just a little bit more of that low-fat shredded mozzarella cheese. And while I was dressing the rest of these chaffles, I had my oven preheating to 400 degrees. Now, I have reheated these in an air fryer, but I have never actually cooked them in an air fryer, so I can't really give you a time or a temperature on that. I would say start low and keep an eye on it. And just for giggles, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more dried oregano on the top of these, and then I'm putting them in the oven until the cheese is nice and melty. Now, I would say if you would like your cheese to be brown, then stick it under the broiler for a few minutes. But because these are small, you definitely want to keep a close eye on them so that you don't burn your actual chaffles. And I'll tell you, this isn't exactly pizza, but when you're craving pizza and you can't have it, this definitely scratches that itch just right. And it kind of tricks you into thinking that you've had pizza. And the egg and the cheese together in the base portion of this actually has the same sort of texture as a deep dish or pan style pizza crust. So I'm just going to snip some fresh basil over the top of these. And while I know it's kind of gilding the lily, there's already basil in it. When you are on a health journey, you really want to put as much flavor as you can into the foods that you're eating so that you don't end up experiencing food boredom, because food boredom is real. You will get tired of it, and that is when most people are likely to kind of fall off the health horse, so to speak. So definitely, if you have the fresh basil, add that to it because it just adds a wonderful little touch to these chaffles. So as promised, here's some of the nutritional information for this. With the turkey pepperoni, it has 367 calories, 13.4 net carbs, and 31.1 grams of protein. And that, of course, is approximate depending on what you add, and that is for a serving size of 2 chaffles. So I really hope that you give this a try next time you want pizza, but you don't want the guilt. And if you do, let me know what you thought about it. Until next time, friends, happy cooking.